Iceland's had 10 volcanic eruptions since 2021. I've been to 2 of those eruptions, and today I want to talk about how to get photos like this or videos like this. We're going to talk about what gear you need, how to do the research and plan out where to get to the volcanoes, and how to find spots of where to take great photos. We're going to dive deeper into respecting the culture and just the laws around what happens when a volcano erupts in another country. Let's dive in and talk about it. Let's take the photo and video aspect out for a second and talk about just how to find volcanoes, how to time visiting them, because that's another thing. You need to know how long they're going on for, because you don't want to just buy tickets and it die out the next day. How do we actually find active volcanoes? You need to know where to look. You need to look in places where geological activity is happening, like continental plates clashing together, like what's happening in Iceland right now, and we're seeing the 10th volcanic eruption. You need to look for places in the Ring of Fire, like Indonesia, where there's so many active volcanoes. I think Bromo has some activity going on. They just had a volcano where a bunch of people had to be evacuated, if I'm not mistaken. There may have been some casualties, so you got to be careful with this stuff. That's another thing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about safety in a moment, but to find this information, there's people on YouTube. A great gentleman is Geology Hub. If you're looking in a specific location like Iceland, one of my favorite countries to visit, there's a channel called Just Icelandic, another great gentleman who gives amazing information about lava flow, about chamber refillings, and just like how it works and how the timing for it works, because you need to be able to go at the correct time. Some of these eruptions end in 72 hours. Some of them last for 6 months, or there's some eruptions that have been going on for years and years and years. Some eruptions are on, timed events. There's one in, I believe, Venezuela, if I'm not mistaken, that erupts every like 15 to 30 minutes, and it's just shooting lava out into like the air, and I don't know. It's craziness, and I don't want to get too off track. But there's a lot of ways to do research on YouTube. There's great information on the internet, and great ways to start to understand how this events happen and how you can find them and time them properly. But that also leads me into respect. And what do I mean? Respect for the culture, the places that you'll be visiting. If you're going to try to go film active volcanoes, I won't lie, Hawaii has lava, but you can get a lot closer in other places in the world, and you need to be extremely careful, know what gear to bring, and how to act when you're there. There's been some instances with the recent volcanic eruption, not the one going on right now. The last one, I was in Iceland in September. Towards the end of the eruption, a gentleman walked across the lava fields into a dangerous area. There was some, I don't know if it was his, but drone footage showing him walking along these fields where he almost fell into a crevasse filled with lava. Like, you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. There's tours to volcanoes. You can hire guides. The first time I went to Iceland, the day we landed, a volcano erupted. We were able to find out there were trails that they were building from the day we got there until the end when we actually went to the volcano. They had to start taking heavy machinery and moving gravel and things out of the way. It was incredible how fast they worked. But you need to be prepared to be able to trek miles through hills and be able to get super close, amazing shots. You might have to deal with stuff like sulfuric gas or lava fields, places like slippery, wet rocks. When I went, it is cold, it is wet, it is rainy, but that camera doesn't do justice. It's a mixture slush of like hail, snow, sleet, and it was freezing cold. It was supposed to be 24 hours of daylight in Iceland, but the clouds made it dark. It was foggy. We were able to feel the heat from the lava, but all the rain coming down, it started to create this like, I guess, cloud of gas, sulfuric gas, and it was dangerous. They increased the danger level. You need to be prepared. You can have masks. I actually have one sitting over here. You can have masks That way you can be able to breathe through the sulfuric gas. There's rules and regulations. Sometimes there's seclusion zones. I mean, the volcano that just erupted came up almost in the Blue Lagoon parking lot in Iceland. And you also want to respect people and their property. You want to respect people with what you photograph. You don't want to travel through anyone's land or do anything to disrespect others, because people will start to put more restrictions, and these countries won't want people to come and just, spend time photographing beautiful Mother Nature. The second volcano that I visited, it was a totally different experience. We couldn't hike miles to it. We landed, got our rental car, and within 10 minutes we had pulled off, and I shot this amazing photo right here. This was shot right off the road. It was 500 feet behind me, 10 minutes from the airport in Keflavik. The lava was a lot farther away from the city. There was no danger to any property. They did have evacuations, but a totally different situation than what's happening right now. Now I wanted to talk about gear. I already talked about having a gas mask to protect yourself from those sulfuric gases. But what about protecting your gear? I think you should have a camera bag if you're going to be trekking to a volcano. Something with a protective weather cover, maybe attached in, or one that you have that you can buy separately. You don't want unexpected weather or whipping winds with sand, grit, and ash to get all in your gear. You don't want grit to get inside of your lenses. It's going to happen eventually, but if you're going specifically to dangerous places like volcanoes, you want to do what you can to protect your gear. An extremely important piece of gear. I consulted with my mentor, my friend who came with me last time, and this is the number one piece of gear he recommended me to talk about. UV filter. Why is it so important? Because it will protect your camera lens. I'd rather lose a little sharpness. These aren't even expensive. These are $7. You can get expensive ones that'll do a lot better job for a few $100s, but I'll take a loss in sharpness to protect my lenses, because the sulfuric gas will eat the coatings off the front of your camera lens. Not a lot of people will tell you that. We'll call that a bonus fact for this video. You want to be able to protect your gear. I'd rather bring my camera lens back home and have a little bit less sharp image, knowing that my camera and my lenses are all good. Now, what kind of camera? What kind of lens should I be using? This is kind of up to you. You can use the full frame, use the equipment you have, but what I would recommend is a telephoto lens. You don't need something with a super fast aperture. This is a 55-200 crop sensor lens. It has an aperture of, I believe it's f4.5 to 6.3. I don't see it directly on here, and I don't remember offhand. It might be 4.5 to 7.1. And I was able to shoot photos and video like this and this with this camera lens and the Canon M50. I own an M6 Mark II. My friend and mentor who was with me had a 5D Mark IV. I had access to a 70-200 with a teleconverter, and I chose to use a 55-200 with an M50 in 4K. But why? Because it has a crop factor of 2.56, getting me out right over 500 millimeters for that awesome video you just saw. Like, this camera is a beast, and I don't want to sleep on any piece of camera gear because it's the knowledge of the photographer, not the gear. Do some more research on how to actually photograph at night during the day with lava, because it itself is a light source. When I was there the first time, it was essentially pitch black, as I was saying, from the weather changing and having storms. And then the second time I was there, it was broad daylight, and I was able to get some incredible photos of everything just being lit up in the valley with the spatter cone in the background. It's incredible. I love that photo. All right, we're gonna move on to some more bonus tips, and then I'm gonna share a cool video that I put together for my first time in Iceland that I think is super cool to end and show off what you can actually do, film, and photograph at a volcano. Our last actual tip is super important. Slow down. I'm talking about during your research, while you're taking photos, on your way to and from while you're hiking. You don't want to put yourself in any extra danger than you need to be. You don't want to forget any equipment. You want to make sure you have everything you need, from the right lens to the right gear to protect what you need, the right things to clean what you have. The list goes on and on. I would make a checklist of what you think you need and then go back over it 2 or 3 times and then go find all that gear, put it together, make a bag. See if you have everything you need and if everything is capable of being protected in the unexpected. You want to make sure you can prepare for the cold, the heat, gases, unexpected weather, sand, grit, ash. You want to make sure you have all the correct information, no misinformation. Find double sources, check those sources. Go back, make a list of all the gear you need, check each individual piece of gear, and make sure it's going to be useful, because sometimes you're going to be hiking miles to these places, and you want to make sure you're not bringing too much or too little. Have lens cloths to wipe off your lenses. Make sure you have, again, a protective camera bag with a cover that can protect you from the weather. And even those plastic bags that you can put over your cameras, even if it's weather sealed, because those gases and the sand and grit will get into your lenses, especially the ones that extend, because those right there, even the ones that extend really small, like the 10 to 18, those will get sand and grit, and you will hear it until you get the lens cleaned or until you buy something else and you're not using it anymore. With that said, I promised you a cool video. I wanted to show you what it's like to actually visit a volcano. This is from my first time in Iceland back in 2022. With that said, I'm Bradley G signing out, and enjoy photography, enjoy travel, enjoy adventure, and do epic shit. I mean, heck, just go out there and do some more. Today, it is about 6 p.m. We are headed out to the volcano. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, not just going to Iceland, but being able to hike and go see running, flowing lava. DC, are you excited?
Man, I'm mad excited.
Dude, I'm so excited. This is gonna be freaking bonkers.